is Ashwin Raj. I'm part of the Amazon payments team, and I'm here to kick off the FinTech set of sessions, and I'm going to start with a quick 10 to 15 minute overview on FinTech. Let me start by saying FinTech is huge, and I'm not going to do justice to all of FinTech. And for all of those who are here to expecting something about blockchain and cryptocurrency, I'm going to disappoint you and say that's not what I'm going to talk about. FinTech, primary focus in FinTech is banking, retail banking. A lot of investment happening in payments. That's where the majority of the activity is. Lending comes close. But FinTech is really broad. It goes into SMB, credit, it goes into corporate disbursements, taxing, accounting. I won't be able to do justice to all those areas. I'm going to focus on what I've been working for the last 2 decades, which is payments and commerce. And over the years, there's been a tremendous amount of investment that's happened in FinTech. It's grown from about approximately $4 billion in 2014 to about now just over 19 billion. And that has been driven quite considerably by a lot of venture capitalists investing in startups, and they've put in about 14 billion of that 19 billion. So there's a whole set of activities going on in FinTech. The space is evolving. There's a lot of trends happening there, and there's a lot of startups coming in. But underlying all of that, there are two themes that are emerging. One is that millennials are claiming their position in society, and they have grown up with a different foundation. They expect different things. It's always on demand. And then from the other side, there are a lot of technology and other players who are using payments as a way to consolidate their position in their ecosystem and help drive their core business economy. So there are several things that are happening underlying this. And what that does is it brings multiple ecosystems to come and clash together. As I said, FinTech, the core of it is banking, and around banking you can think of payments, you can think of money transfers, et cetera. But now, technology players are entering the fray. And there are other entities that are coming in who are looking to do different things using payments as a value proposition. And it's getting even more complicated. Now, if you think about it, it's gone all the way from banking now to even buying pizza, your music preferences, how you consume content, et cetera. So all these industries are converging together, and what that does is it allows new entrants to come in, but at the same time, incumbents are not sitting idle. They are taking active steps to address this change and to determine how they are going to evolve. As you can see, I've just given a few examples of all the investments that have happened, but all the existing established incumbents are all taking action, acquiring new companies, creating new models, acquiring new technologies. What does this mean? I'm going to give you 4 examples of things that are very, very day-to-day if you think about it. Hailing a taxi, taking a car or buying a car and going from home to work, a street vendor selling bananas on the road, and drinking coffee. What the heck has this got to do with FinTech? But if you see, there are companies and solutions that have emerged around this. Uber has solved the problem of how you take private transportation for hire and made that process so easy and simple. M-Pesa solved the problem of how buyers and sellers exchange value between themselves in Kenya and has become the de facto almost payment system there, and banks and others are now utilizing the M-Pesa system. The connected car has changed how we commute from work to home or home to work or going from one place to another, because now a whole set of experiences that are customized to you, your interests, what music you like, what you want to do, that's being created in the connected car ecosystem. And finally, Starbucks. All you want is a cup of coffee, and Starbucks has made that experience, again, so great that now you can order ahead, your coffee is waiting for you, and you can pick it up. And all of this has an implication in fintech because at the end of the day, a consumer is paying and is buying something. And so commerce ultimately underlies what fintech is all about. So keep these examples in mind because as I walk through the other elements of my presentation today, some of the themes that these companies have done will emerge. But at the center of it, it's about the consumer. That individual or the customer is the one who's going to define how successful someone is in fintech. And why? Why is the consumer so important? And secondly, and more importantly, and I was reflecting on the panel earlier, where the last piece of it, they were talking about identity and trust and so on. Do you really know that consumer? Who knows their consumer so well in a way to influence that commerce experience? The designer said it perfectly. He's designing a dress, but it's the woman who wears it and that makes that dress what it is. It's that person's choice. This panel, I'm sure most of you were here for this panel. You heard them. You were talking about social identities, et cetera, and so on. But when you think about commerce, and commerce can happen in multiple channels. Commerce can happen on online channels. Commerce can happen in physical channels, et cetera. Let's just take the online channel, for example. Merchants are what they do. How do they try and identify the consumer? A lot of them are using social logins. You can sign in with all these examples that are stated here. But do they tell you who the consumer is? Can they, with perfect understanding, say that this is a male or a female? Do they know that? They don't. They cannot make that determination yet. All they know is that this person with this credential has signed in. That's all there is to it. So when you think about commerce and you think about who that consumer is who's ultimately buying something, there is a disconnect. Today, there is a big disconnect between identity and commerce, and identity is at the core, again, of what drives commerce activity. So I'm going to focus on this because I think this is where, again, from previous panel, you heard Jeff Dean talk earlier about machine learning and identifying things, et cetera. If you do not know the consumer, how are you going to sell them what they want? How do you know what they want? And I think that's the crux of what it's going to take for somebody to be successful in the commerce and payments area. Because remember, payments is only at the very end of it. It is the completion of a transaction that started long way back from a consumer deciding, I want to buy this thing. And then they go shop, they go browse, they choose something, and then they complete that transaction. And then they pay with an instrument. So if you look at that experience, what we at Amazon are thinking about is we are pioneering a concept called commerce identity. And you may wonder, what the heck is commerce identity? At its core, because of the convergence, again, of the physical and the online worlds, it is a digital identity with information about your commerce network. What does that really mean? Take a step back. I'm sure all of you have heard about Amazon and use Amazon. Think about your Amazon experience. You log in. You shipped items to yourself before. So Amazon knows your payment credentials. They have your shipping address. But what else does it have? You've shipped items to your friends and family, and all their name and addresses are also there. You're not going to, if you've been using Amazon for about even 3-4 years, that's your network. That's your close network with whom you are interacting in commerce. You're not going to interact with your third grade friend who posted something on what they ate for breakfast. You're not going to interact with someone who tweeted about an uprising in Africa. So that information is irrelevant when it comes to commerce because you're going to buy something for yourself, your family, or your close extended family and friends who live either close by or far away, and you're going to deliver those goods to them. So commerce identity is centered around enabling commercial transactions between buyers and sellers. And it's also critical that it's able to transcend multiple channels, be it devices, be it online, be it physical. And that identity needs to be, it has to be pervasive, it has to be prominent, it's got to be proven. And so unless it satisfies those requirements, you're not going to have an identity that means anything to anybody. Why is a merchant going to adopt your solution? You need to have a large customer base so they know that, hey, I can have access to a set of consumers either in a market or globally. They need to know that it's trusted. They need to know that that identity means something, it'll not be compromised, there's no fraud that will occur, etc. And they also need to know that it has the right information that will allow someone to then complete that transaction. So those are the critical underpinnings of what we call commerce identity. So how does this work? How does commerce identity really work? And what we are using is the Pay with Amazon, and this is a shameless plug for the business I run. So just bear with me for this slide. But essentially, what we are doing is we're using all the information that is stored in the Amazon account. We have over 300 million plus active consumers with their credentials stored who are transacting on a regular basis. This is not cards on file. These are active consumers who are using that information to buy and ship goods. So think about an Amazon transaction now occurring on some other site. You log in with your Amazon credentials. Your payment information is there. Your shipping information is there. You want to ship to somebody, it's already there. Click, and you're done. And we've been primarily focusing on online because that's what we're good at. However, there's nothing that prevents it from going beyond that. And so now I spoke about a cross-channel, cross-device type of interaction. How do you think that will work? So I'll walk you through an example. And I mentioned earlier that a commerce transaction starts very early in the process. It starts all the way when you are looking at probably searching for something on a website or on Google. And they serve you an ad. And that ad may be relevant or not. I'll give you a personal example. The water filter in my fridge, had to be replaced. So I went to Amazon, bought a water filter, very easy process, done. For the next 6 months, I got served water filter ads wherever I went, and that's all I would see. I'm like, guys, I just buy this once in a while. I don't do this like every day. I don't replace water filters. So it starts right there where the information that you are being provided needs to be relevant. So let's assume this hypothetical person, Mary, is looking for tops, and she gets served a targeted ad because of the information. Again, think about it. There's a history of transactions that individual has done, either with Amazon or with any other merchant, right? You have that history. You know they're buying patterns. You can see what they're browsing, and then you serve that ad up. Now she sees that ad, and then she's like curious, clicks on it, goes to the site, and does the research, right? She looks at different tops, different colors, different sizes, finds something that she may like, that may not find something. But with dresses, usually you like to wear them, you like to try them out, you want to make sure that the fit is great, and then you choose. So it's not just an online experience. Mary wants to go to the store and actually then buy what she saw. Now today, think about your store experience. Let's say you all browsed online. When you go to the store, what happens? You need to start from scratch again. You have to go and look for where that section is, what top it is, what color it is, and if there's an agent helping you, you have to describe all of that to them. I want this size, I want this color, this is my preference. And then that process evolves. But Mary had already done this online, but she has to redo that process offline. But now in the commerce identity experience, what will happen is that online research that was done and what she had stored in her wish list, etc., is transferred to the store because Mary is recognized at the time of entry using the same credentials, and her wish list is provided to that store agent, and that store agent is now waiting for Mary to say, here are some of the tops that you put in your wish list, here are some additional options that you may want to consider, and Mary has a much better experience. She may choose some tops, she may want to alter some. The ones she sees, she takes with her and leaves. The others get delivered to her home because her address is already there, and they know where to ship the details. And she did not have to pull out anything and pay. It's just a click of a button, that's it. And that's the commerce identity experience that is perfect for a consumer because it anticipates, it knows, and it provides a process and a way for someone to have a seamless buying and purchasing experience. So you may think, okay, this is great conceptually, In reality, how does this happen? So think about what I said about Starbucks, right? It happens today. You are able to pre-order, they have that coffee waiting for you. And so what Amazon has done, for this is last month, we worked with a partner called Moda Operandi, who is a high-end fashion designer. And essentially, they work with the top designers in the world, and they offer dresses and so on. It's only for women, so all the guys out there, don't go looking at Moda Operandi, you're going to be disappointed. And they run trunk shows, they have an online site, but they essentially have a set of stylists who actually help, because these are seriously costly dresses. And it has to be customized, et cetera, and so on. So what we did was we created the same commerce identity experience. The individual could choose what they want, browse, put it in the wish list. When they walked in, they were recognized through beacons in the store. Their phone had the Amazon shopping app, so we had their credentials. We immediately recognized the person. The stylist was ready waiting for them with the dresses. The person got fitted. Transaction was complete. And the headline said that. We still don't know who bought that $7,000 gown, so that's something that we're trying to find out. But somebody did, which is fascinating. So think about that experience. A $7,000 gown, they do not want an experience that you face today. They want a completely different experience. And that's what you're doing. But it varies. I gave you two examples. One is as small as a $3 coffee, and one is a $7,000 gown, and the experiences are the same. And that's what you really need to drive to. Ultimately, it's about that end consumer and creating that experience for them. So I see the red light flashing, and I think I need to wrap up. So I'll wrap up with a little bit of advice for all the entrepreneurs out there. To be successful in fintech, ultimately it's payments, et cetera, but you need to solve the customer's problem. You need to solve it well. And you need to understand that collision path. And once you do that, you're going to be successful. Thanks, you've been great.